welcome to Where Math Took Me, where we take a look at the beauty and value of math and just where it takes people professionally and personally. Real stories, real impact, and real life. I'm your host, Caden Lay, and joining me today is the VP of Global Head of Growth at Audible, arguably one of the biggest audiobook companies in the world, Bolong Lee. For the viewers and also kind of for myself, just tell me about yourself.
Sure. Thanks for having me, first of all, Kaden.
Of course.
Just a little bit about myself, as you mentioned. So I'm currently basically VP Head of Global Growth Marketing for Audible. So my job is to help grow our business's customer base and member base globally. And then there are basically multiple levers we can pull. For example, how we can actually drive more customers into our member base through media, through promotions, through optimization, and then we can also actually continuously improve our customer experience to basically retain more customers, more members, provide more value to those valued customers, so that they don't need to actually leave us or join our competitors. So those are basically the main activities, and then we're a global operation, so we have team members all around the globe.
Wow.
There's a lot of opportunities there as well. Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. Yeah, I know I've heard a lot about Audible. Would you say it's one of the biggest audiobook companies?
I think so. We're part of Amazon, and then we're able to leverage Amazon's global reach to grow our customer base rapidly. And then we've been around for a very long time as well. So I think the company has been there for over 25 years.
Maybe some of the first to do it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then there's so if you look at basically the history of Audible, there's definitely several stages. I remember that because I've been here for over 12 years, but actually even before my tenure, the company had already been through so much. And then in the very beginning,
let me know about
Audible had to even actually sell hardware, or actually to basically deliver hardware for the customer to be able to use it, because back then not everybody had access to basically equipment that can actually consume audiobooks. And then I think we're also actually fortunate enough that we are able to actually see the evolution of personal technology, right? So now
100%.
Exactly. So basically that becomes a ease of access for customer to consume content like audiobooks. So that's why we are able to actually continue to grow as well.
So now it's super software based, I guess you'd say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know this, maybe it's a little bit tangential to where you work, but this is kind of a math driven podcast. Really, sure. I think a lot of it's just about what does math really do in your career? And so in your job right now, right? Vice president, is it? Just such a huge company, probably managing hundreds of people. How does math find a part in your life?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting topic because I came from a finance background, so
tell me about that, of course.
Yeah, I didn't actually study marketing or general management at school. So both my college and graduate school, I majored in finance and financial engineering. And as a matter of fact, financial engineering, my major in my graduate school, essentially that's applied math. The way basically the main thing of it is basically how can you actually use a very quantitative approach to solve problems, right? Namely, for my major, it was more for in the financial market, but I was able to actually to leverage the same approach. Down the road, even I pivoted my career to marketing to media, because I think also one thing that is interesting is for the longest time, right, in the 20th century, when you talk about marketing, it was more like very, very creative ideas, very appealing visuals, all that type of things.
That's how I understand it.
Exactly, but the challenge had always been, I think it was John Wanamaker who ever said that, I know that half of my marketing budget is a waste, I just don't know which half. That had been the problem for the century, right? Of
Wow.
the entire
Yeah.
20th century, right? But I think coming into the 21st century, I think you guys probably know this even more than I do. The technology, the evolution of the technology, right? That changes everything.
All
Everybody
the
now
AI
has
stuff coming
basically
out too,
totally
right?
exactly. So as a result of that, things become more measurable and then
Mm,
also more trackable, right? So that's why companies like Google, Meta, they really revolutionized the entire marketing industry or media industry because the
wow.
product they
Yeah, yeah.
offer, the advertisement product, the ads product they offer, really can provide really strong tracking, and then they have so
Mm,
much analytics on the back end. So that really changed basically what companies are looking for when it comes to marketing or media, right?
right,
Rather
like,
than
right.
totally, being creative is still actually very important, but you also need to be data driven. You also need to
Mm,
be super quantitative to be able to actually to
yeah.
understand all the numbers, understand all the analytics, and then basically to your point, math becomes even really more important in this transition. I feel like that's why I was
Mm,
able to actually to also benefit from that because I came from
right.
that quantitative background, which helped me to basically be able to adapt to this transition faster.
Yeah. So I guess kind of how your career was is like you were studying numbers, right? All the
Right,
data from
exactly,
maybe how companies are doing different stocks and whatnot. Like, but now you're saying that you're using math to analyze data, right? Like what's
for sure.
working, what isn't.
Yeah.
Like, what would be, I guess, like maybe an example of how really math,
Hmm.
like just
Totally.
maybe some problem you solved using
Yeah.
math for data
Yeah.
and whatnot. Like, just give
So
me, yeah.
So, for example, like many companies, one of the key tactics we use to drive our growth is to run promotions, right? So, like, we just basically finished, this year's Prime Day, right? That's one
Oh,
example.
yeah. Yes.
Holidays, another. So we run, discounted membership pricing or, in promo pricing basically every now and then throughout the year. But the question we always wanted to answer is not only basically how many people are actually taking this offer, but also is this offer really incremental to our business as usual operation? Because
Yeah.
certainly, whatever you put on the market, some people are going to take it. But the question is, are we actually driving more customers or incremental customers to join our business? And then is that incrementality big enough to offset the discount we're basically, giving
Mm,
to the market, right?
right,
So
right.
that's why we worked very closely with our internal data science and business intelligence team to build models on the back end to really actually track to
Yeah.
really track basically the performance by each channel. Like every time when we run promos like this, are we actually seeing incremental customers joining us? And then are they staying
Mm,
with us? Or they basically just leverage the offer and then they leave us right after basically
right.
the offer ends,
For
right?
sure.
We want to understand the retention curve, their consumption pattern, and then basically at an aggregated level, is the incremental value is
Yeah,
big
for sure.
enough to offset basically the cost
Right.
or
Because,
the discount
yeah,
there.
I
Yeah.
just want to button in a bit, but I've always wondered, like, because I feel like every time I see a sale, like, it's
Hmm.
like 50% off, 20% off, I'm just like,
Right.
well, what are the companies really doing, right? Because
Right.
I feel like if you think about it from maybe a customer's view, it's just like you're saving money. But
Yep.
um, I never realized, like, what you do in marketing is really actually getting more people to use that service too, as well.
Totally. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
because at a high level, if you think about it, there's always actually going to be a group of people who are going to pay your regular price regardless, right? Because you're basically what you're providing is meeting their demand. But there's also actually a group of people who are never going to use your service because you just,
Right.
the product is just not relevant. But there is going to be a group of people who are considering your product, but they're basically debating for multiple reasons. And then that type of
Yeah.
basically additional
100%.
push from a promotional perspective is going to help them to get over the hurdle. And then the question for the business to figure out is what is the best way to provide that push? Is it a
Mm,
promo? Is there something else? or to what extent you should actually to provide that push or the sweetener, because you don't want to actually bankrupt yourself as well. So that's where math actually comes in to help you to figure out.
So I guess it's kind of like you're looking at, hey, how many new people are we getting?
Right.
How much money are we, I guess, tanking, right? To actually get all these people. And so maybe what your job is to use math and say, if we keep doing this, or if we try this, maybe it'll increase or decrease. And actually, like, what kind of mathematical models do you use in that sort of industry?
To be honest, oftentimes there's three types of analytics we use on a daily basis, right? So the first one is more like descriptive, right? So it's more like, how our business is doing to begin with as a baseline, right? So, how many people we're getting, how much money we're actually paying to get those people, that type of things.
So just like overall, like, how's the company doing because of...
Exactly, and then it's more like we're basically, finding out the facts, or, those are basically just statements, right? Fact-based. So that's level one.
Oh,
The second type is basically predictive. So it's basically to say, based on everything you've seen, and then based on all the data you have, what is the projected, outcome or performance from certain campaign, from certain project, from certain basically initiative. Because that type of like futuristic value can help you to guide you to make decisions or investment decisions right now, right? So that's the second type of analytics. And then the last type is more prescriptive. So it's like, what should we do? So that's more advanced, right? So it's basically, you already know how your business is doing right now. You also actually potentially know some of the things that you can do, and then what's the associated value to those. The third, or the most actually ultimate analytics you do, is what should you do based on all the information, right? So that helps you make the ultimate decision, essentially.
So I guess if you're looking at, promotions, you would go in 3 levels, maybe.
Right.
So you'd start with descriptive, then predictive, and then prescriptive.
Oftentimes, yeah. You definitely need to start with facts first.
I know.
And then you want to actually get some assumptions built that will actually give you some predictions and projections. And then you can also actually make some ultimate decisions, right? Based on all the factors at play.
Yeah, wow, that's super interesting. And
yep.
I guess math is how you would model what happens next as well. Like,
yeah, totally. The math is basically the ultimate, what powers all these analytics, right? So even the most basic ones, even you just basically doing average, or you're basically just plotting the trend line. Those are all math, but those are basically helping you to do a lot of the quick decisions on a day-to-day basis as well.
So I guess in this sense, the math is really used to get a hold of all the numbers and data you have.
For sure.
Just see what's happening to it,
Yeah, totally. And then the other thing I would want to call it is even if so oftentimes when we are talking about math, or how math is helping power the business, we think about, for example, data science models, right, or prediction models, or propensity models. Those are very, very useful, and then those are the directions. But to be honest, over 50% of our decisions on a day-to-day basis don't require that kind of advanced math. So even the very basic ones, right? You use Excel, right? You look at the trend line from the past, 90 days, or you average out some of the daily engagement behavior can also actually ground you very well, and can quickly give you some guidance in terms of making decisions on, should I actually put more money in this channel versus that channel, that type of things.
Yeah. I think it definitely reminds me of like a lot of science experiments or labs that I might do actually at school. So that's like super interesting. And actually, I kind of want to transition topics, but speaking of school, like, what was your school experience like with math, and what chose you to really pursue finance?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So to be honest, like at the very beginning, I didn't necessarily know all the options, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
before I went to college, right? So what I did was literally just some very preliminary research to say what are some of the hot industries or what are some of the promising job fields in the future, and then
Oh,
where I can
okay.
actually just basically, potentially build a more bright career, right? So finance was definitely one of the up and rising industry, at least back then. So I was born and raised in China, and then as a developing
Yeah, yeah,
country,
yeah.
emerging economy, finance was definitely the uprising industry that everybody was basically looking up to, right? So that's why after some initial research, I wanted to actually to tap into this to see whether this is for me. So that's why I picked
Yeah.
finance as my major in college. And then as I basically learn more and more, I really actually do love the quantitative approach, and then
Yeah,
do
yeah, for
actually
sure.
enjoy using maths or data or
Yeah,
that
yeah.
intelligence to help make better decisions. So that's
Right,
why
right,
I
right.
furthered my study through graduate school, at NYU, and
Yeah,
majored
yeah, I
in
saw that on your
engineering.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, the reason why I actually went to NYU was simply because New York City is the financial center of the world, right? So this is basically where you can get the most advanced and cutting edge,
Yeah.
experience. So I think, to be honest, I feel like I also actually enjoyed my experience at NYU as well, because the
Mm.
graduate school experience was very, I would say, not the conventional campus experience, because basically NYU doesn't have a
Yeah.
very prominent campus.
Yeah,
It's
I've actually been there
spread out.
myself. Right.
Exactly
It's like a
in
bunch of
various.
like different buildings, right?
Totally. I think there's pros and cons, but to me, it gave me an opportunity, or it forced me to basically to get more exposure into the community, into the society, and then kind of like
Oh, yeah.
encouraged me to get more experience and internship even from year one. And then
Wow.
that was also the reason I got enough exposure and experience in the industry, which basically gave me the opportunity to question myself on whether this is the career I want, whether this is
Yeah.
basically the professional I want to pursue. That's why I basically made a bold decision to say, you know what, let me try something else, right? So I never actually
Wow.
got
Yeah.
exposure. So that's why I pivoted to different, industry, different jobs.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is after graduate school? Like
yes, yeah,
after you'd already finished your MS, I think?
totally, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, what was that like? Because, I mean, transitioning from completely doing finance into like marketing, I mean,
Right.
I know they're related, but I mean, that just feels like a huge change in
It
careers.
was for sure.
Yeah, what was your
Um,
experience with that? How did that happen?
so to be honest, like I was actually doing very very relevant, already full time internship in the last semester of my
Oh,
graduate school. I was actually working for a buy side fund, basically focusing on building quantitative models to price financial products, right? So that was my job.
yeah.
So it was super relevant, and then that,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
supposed to be basically be the job I do after graduation. But I quickly realized that I could do the job, but I didn't feel the passion I had for this job, right?
Like it
So
was just for money, kind of?
yeah, it was more like that, right? So I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
do I want to actually just do this for the rest of my life? And then the answer is no. I really want to try something else. I didn't know what I want, but I knew that I wanted to try something else, right? So that's why I
Yeah, yeah.
started actually to
Wow. So, yeah, even like at the end of your graduate, like,
totally,
yeah,
totally, yeah.
you were
It
still
was
trying to find what to do.
there was actually a lot of risk to begin with, because when I talked to
It
my
sounds like it, yeah.
yeah, when I talked to my professors and my advisor and even my classmates, they were all warning me that you're essentially breaking a momentum you've been building since the beginning of your college, and then
Yeah,
now
yeah.
you're trying to actually tap into something that is completely new and unknown. There's a lot of risk. I knew that,
It
but the
sounds
thing
scary.
is, yeah, it was, and I kind of knew that already, but I also actually knew that at that time probably I had the lowest opportunity cost. Imagine if I already,
Mm,
I started a job, a full-time job in the
yeah,
finance
yeah, yeah.
industry, And then, a few years later, if I wanted to try something different, the
I
opportunity
mean,
cost was even
right,
higher.
right.
Right?
Like,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that's why I was like, if I ever wanted to try something else, then this is the time. So that's why I start to look, right? So again, like I mentioned, I didn't know what exactly I wanted, but this opportunity just came up. Basically, Apple had this
Wow.
amazing opportunity, and then they were in this very, very they
Yeah, I
were
saw that.
yeah, essentially they just launched iPhone 4 and iPad 2 back in
Wow.
2000, I think 11. That was the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was really the age that they were trying to actually really take over the world. So they didn't mind basically what major I was in. They really
Mm.
appreciate basically my passion and willingness to learn, and then certainly the capability I demonstrated. So they gave me opportunity to basically to join their team, and then honestly, actually, I learned so much through that Apple experience. To me, that was like a
Yeah.
real life MBA experience. That's where I learned all the marketing tactics or strategies or general management skill set, and then communication, all the
Yeah,
soft
yeah, yeah.
skills. And then, I really appreciate that experience. And then later, basically, along the same line, I basically I made a job switch. I joined Amazon, or more specifically Audible.
Audible, right, right.
Exactly. And then that's where I really basically started to actually to really actually start a career in this marketing. Um,
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, yeah. And I also want to just like quickly ask, I
mhm.
mean, because you were studying finance for what, like 6 years, 7 years?
Yeah, 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How did that, I mean, how did learning how did learning all that applied math and finance really help you get into marketing? Like, did that give
Yeah.
you a head start at all,
Yeah.
would you say?
I think there are two things. One is, like I mentioned, basically, there's basically a macro shift in the marketing industry, right? So
Right,
the
right. Data
industry,
analysis, right.
exactly, they really started to appreciate this type of quantitative background more and more back there, right? So that's why, having that experience really helped me to demonstrate the potential, and then what I can do and what I can bring to the table, unlike
Right, right.
basically the traditional marketing major talents, right? So that's one.
Oh, yeah, that's actually
The,
super interesting. Yeah.
yeah, the second thing is, honestly, if you ever actually in the marketing industry, you would know that one of the key partners for marketers to be successful is to have good relationship and collaboration with your finance team, because you need to actually get
Oh.
the budget, you need to actually justify your spending, you need to be able to do retro analysis, and then do all that, right? So if you can have a very smooth and then positive relationship with your finance partners, then you can be more successful, right? So the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I speak the same
100%.
language helped me for sure, because I came from that background. I understand why they ask certain questions, what they
Mm.
value the most, and then I basically try to craft my plan and strategy accordingly. So which really helped me to basically to win in that relationship, which is certainly essential for me to do a better job at in marketing essentially.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, because
Hmm.
basically what you were doing is you, I mean, you have the best of both worlds, I guess, because you have all the skills from finance, and also it gives you background in data analysis. But I mean, I feel like learning all the things in marketing must have been really, really tricky as well.
I think that's also a good point. I think it's oftentimes we'll have to actually keep learning, right? Particularly in the first few
Mm.
years after school, because I came from finance. I came from the finance background. It definitely actually helped me to get something that is different from the traditional marketing majored talents. But in the same time, I didn't actually have that official or more structured training from marketing, right? So that's why
Yeah, yeah.
in those first few years, I actually took time on the side to take additional executive education at Columbia Business
Oh,
School.
yes, I did
Uh,
see that.
yeah, particularly in marketing, marketing strategies, marketing executions, to really actually to give me more knowledge and skill set in this field. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I saw you were actually teaching at Columbia, and
I do
NYU,
now.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see. So, I guess now you've kind of learned a lot just from being in the industry, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah, yeah.
definitely learning on the job. But the reason why actually I teach on the side right now is also I find that basically teaching is also actually the best way to learn. So this
Really?
type of engagement, yeah, totally. This type of engagement forces me to always actually look for the newest and the latest in the industry because the students are going to actually ask you a lot of questions, and then in order for you to actually to really actually deliver a super valuable class, you need to do a lot of preparation, and then that
Yeah, I've heard it's
preparation,
difficult.
exactly, that preparation is basically, for me, is a learning experience, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think one of the challenges for long tenured professionals is as you basically do the same thing on a day-to-day basis, you get very comfortable, and then
Yeah, kind of
you
like
stop
stuck in the
learning.
loop.
Yeah, you kind of like stop learning, but that's
Mm,
basically where you start to actually lose track of the latest, and then you may actually just not
yes.
be able to actually to adapt to the new trends, right? So that's why I feel like always actually keeping myself sharp through the teaching and learning environment is essential. So I'll
Yeah,
give you
I
one
agree, I
example,
agree.
right? So I think
Go ahead.
you guys actually probably are more familiar with this, but there was one time I was actually discussing the new trends in e-commerce, right? So I
Mm,
think I mentioned this new trend, which is basically the social commerce, and then for example, people TikTok as a media platform, they start to actually offer commerce opportunities, right? You can buy stuff on
oh,
TikTok.
right, right. Is it
Yeah,
kind of like promotional content? Kind of like, hey, look, I'm wearing this. You can buy it
yeah,
if I use my
yeah,
link.
yeah.
Like,
And
yeah, yeah.
so this was nothing new from the very beginning, but what is a little bit different for TikTok Shop, that's basically the name
Mm,
for it, is it's for them, it's basically a closed loop. Essentially, rather than sending you to somewhere to finish the purchase, you can't actually, complete the whole purchase within the TikTok app, right? On the
oh,
back end,
wow.
it's their own system, it's their own basically
Super
merchant
convenient.
system, right? So you need to open up a
Mm,
store in the platform. So that's why it's basically additional revenue stream for TikTok. At the time when I actually brought up this topic, to me, this felt like, this is one of those new things. And then we will need to wait for years, if not longer, to see this become something material. But I basically asked the question randomly to say, hey, how many of you guys are buy have purchased
yeah.
anything on TikTok? To my surprise, like almost everybody raised their hands in my class.
Everybody. Wow.
Almost.
Yeah.
So
Did you?
I was a
Yeah.
little bit shocked because I didn't realize this was already that popular, at least
Mm,
in the younger generation, right? So if it were not for that class, I wouldn't actually have that knowledge, and then I wouldn't actually be able to use the knowledge to basically better craft my potential future, marketing
yeah.
strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why this type of like teaching environment really helped me to
For
basically
sure.
to stay
For
sharp.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Because I guess I mean I feel like one way you could look at like students is because I mean they're the future of the world,
Totally,
really, right?
exactly.
And so they also. I mean, do you think students are more prone to having novel ideas as well?
I think so. I think because they always actually have fresh pairs of eyes, right? And then they look
Yeah.
at things very differently. And then to your point, um, even if they do nothing, or they do not necessarily have novel ideas in this field, but they are
Mm.
the future, the core basically cohort for the future, right? From a consumption and then from a
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
planning power perspective, their
Right. Right.
behavior is going to be the mainstream behavior in 5 or 10 years, right? So if you don't actually understand their preferences and their behavior,
Oh, I
then
see.
you're going to miss out. So that's,
So
yeah,
yeah, so I guess in some way, like being a professor is also a way to study like your
yeah,
customer base and also
totally,
who's buying these
absolutely,
things. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, for sure. And like, what's I mean, yeah, that's just incredible though. Like, I feel like I mean, just for myself, I feel like a potential career option is also maybe being a professor with math because for myself, I
Yeah,
think I'm not as much into applied math,
yep,
maybe more for pure math, but I know
yep,
that being a professor is like a huge, and academia in general is a huge
sure.
career option for myself.
For sure.
So, I mean, what else would you say about being professor? And
Yeah.
what would you think if maybe you were a full-time professor as well?
Yeah. So I think here's the difference. So in the academia world, right? So there's basically the tenured professor, right? So that's basically the full-time professor. There's also the adjunct instructors. That's basically what I do, right? So I have a daytime job, and I teach on the side wherever I can find time. The difference is not on the teaching side. The difference is more on the research side, basically.
Oh,
As the tenured professor, as the full-time professor, you will need to actually do a lot of research. You will need to actually aim to actually have the original, ideas to help advance, the knowledge and an understanding for the entire human being, right? So that's basically what one of their missions is, right? Certainly, they also actually set aside time to teach, to basically engage the student body, but that's the difference. So, but if that's basically where your passion is, then it's going to be a very, very interesting career path for sure.
Wow, yeah, that really cleared up actually, because I was wondering. That's really cool.
Yeah,
and I think also on the subject of education, maybe just what you were learning. How was your experience with math? Did you ever like it? Because I know you said you picked finance as your college option because it does make money, but because you have to use math so much in applied, finance, because it's applied math essentially.
Yep.
What was your relationship with math as a student, maybe even in high school?
I think math has always been the most important subject, if not the most important.
Wow.
Because I feel like I'm also actually the type of person that I like structured approach to basically
like a logical one.
Problems. Exactly.
Yeah.
So math is definitely the foundation of that, right? So it's not only actually for professional environment, even in the daily life, the personal life, I use math quite a lot to provide the structure, right? So for example, our personal investment decisions or personal spending planning, and then all the major decisions.
So even in your personal life too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is basically becomes the ways of living, ways of working, right?
Wow.
Because you do actually leverage because for me, I feel like math can actually provide clarity, right? So even for example, sometimes my wife and I are going to actually make certain decisions to say, where do we want to actually spend our Christmas, for example, right? So we would actually look at different things, but certainly, there's going to be a lot of mass factors, getting involved, right? From a financial perspective, from basically the planning perspective. So those are all going to be very, very interesting input for our decision making, right? So that's why I feel like this is basically where we can find some kind of structure and framework, or a universal approach for us to basically make certain decisions.
Yeah, it sounds like you enjoyed it. I think doing math as a student, just from what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It also sounds like would you think that the most important thing you got from math was being improving logical thinking?
I think for me, definitely yes. Because like I mentioned, I think it's a universal approach, right? So it's not just basically you have one problem, you're basically leveraging math to solve it. It's basically how you see the world, how you actually approach the world to begin with, right?
Yeah, kind of like going step by step, taking a look at your facts.
Exactly.
How can you get to the end?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And is there any I think also, because I feel like maybe not for us, but I think a lot of students, people, even just full-time working adults have a fear of math, they see it as kind of really difficult, right?
Yeah.
And I guess for that, are there any misconceptions you'd say about it? And do you think more people should get into math?
Yeah, I think the number one thing, I think I mentioned this a little bit from this podcast, was oftentimes when we think about math as a concept, we think about those very, very advanced mathematical tactics, right? Stochastic calculus and things like that.
Oh, yeah, no.
But but the reality is, math is basically, can be as simple as you are using numbers to document things, right? So basically, my 4-year-old son can actually count things. That's math, right? So
Oh,
it's
yeah, you're right.
essentially it's essentially, we don't have to actually think about math as has to be super complex and super
Mm,
hard to understand or use. It can actually be super simple. It can be basically, part of your daily life. Like I mentioned,
yeah,
basically, the
it
reason why I
really
feel
is for
like,
you.
yeah, totally. The reason
Yeah.
why I really actually think math is very helpful is because it does actually provide that kind of logical steps and then the framework or universal approach for me to make a lot of
Yeah.
decisions, right? So, for example, like if I arrange my day, I have so many different tasks and then things I need to do. I basically, just estimate, how much time I would actually use to put here, how much time I need to
Right,
actually
right.
get from one place to the next stop, and then how do I actually optimize that? That's also actually, using math to basically
Day-to-day
make
planning.
decisions
Yeah,
and
yeah.
optimize your life, right? So it's not just a so again, I feel like it's also probably for me, I'm more like a logical person. I like structure. I like
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
a more basically um, 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 uh, defined way to approach problems. So that's why I feel like math can be very, very universal, and then
Yeah,
certainly
for
everybody
sure.
can use it for sure.
So I guess what you're saying is kind of like, rather than math being a super complicated subject with like a bunch
Hmm.
of hard things, like I guess you were mentioning stochastic calculus, right?
Hmm.
Which I have no idea myself, but I think you were saying the key point is that math is really a way to learn logical thinking,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess then would you recommend people like still have to learn calculus in high school? Because I know a lot of
Yeah.
people struggle with that.
Yeah, I think to me, those are basically trainings. You don't have to. You don't have to actually learn stochastic calculus. I say that because,
Right.
yeah, because that was basically one of the core courses while I was studying financial engineering.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, but to me, to be honest, I already actually forgot most of it already because I don't
Yeah,
use
of
it, right, in my current
course.
life. But I felt like that was good training for me to actually go through that because the logical thinking, the way to actually to start from point A to basically get to point B,
Yes.
and then how you actually prove disprove certain hypotheses. Those are
Um,
all actually very helpful tactics that I'm using basically even till today. Not necessarily the knowledge and then the specific tactics
yeah,
anymore, but basically the approach is really stays with you.
for sure. Yeah, I feel like sorry, I feel like I see a similar thing with coding, like
Hmm.
myself. Because
For
I feel
sure.
like a lot of the times when you code, you think about how you do it rather than knowing all the syntax and all the
Absolutely.
different ways you have to do
Absolutely.
things. And
I
I
fully
think
agree.
I definitely really agree. Yeah, yeah, for math as well, it's like I guess it's not really about like the theorems, the
Yep.
different techniques, but it's just how do you approach problems? How do you
Totally.
tackle them?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I mean, just a big question I want to ask in
Hmm.
general, like, if you could go back, would you still, pick finance as your option, transition to
Hmm.
marketing? Yeah, what would you do if you could go back and change like a big part of your career?
That's a great question. If I go back, I would. I'm not actually. I don't necessarily regret my decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
In those key moments of my life. But if I had the opportunity to redo it, I probably would actually explore a little bit more before I made those decisions. So, for example, before I actually picked finance as the major, or before I started finance, basically further my study in this field with an advanced degree, I would want to actually allow myself to explore other possibilities a little bit more, to see what's out there,
Oh,
to even actually take a gap year between college and graduate school to really actually to
wow.
get more real life experience so that I know exactly what I wanted to achieve, through, for example, the graduate school program, right? So it will becomes
100%. Yeah.
more intentional. So now I feel like looking back, I was able to connect the dots, but it was not necessarily that intentional. It was more like let
Yeah.
me go with it, right? Let me just actually do these things and then try to actually figure out what
Just
can stick
to
versus
see what
not.
happens, right?
Exactly, but
Like
that's also
yeah,
potentially could be an approach. And but I would actually just, if I had the opportunity, I would actually allow myself to explore a little bit more, so I could potentially make
yeah.
better decisions and a
I
more
see. Yeah,
effective
for sure, for sure.
decisions as well.
Yeah, that's actually super interesting though, because from how I see it, what you took with your life was essentially like, hey, let me just pick this random option, or and
Hmm.
maybe not random, but let me try this,
Hmm.
and then I'll just go with the flow. But at
Hmm.
the same time, I feel like in your work and also how you think about life at the same time is like logical thinking, like
Hmm.
this clash of ideals. Um, do you ever think about that? Do you think it's better if you like think about your life more logically or more go with the
Yeah.
flow kind of feeling?
Well, so I think for me, I definitely, the approach I tend to use is more logical, and I try to actually, to your point, leverage quantitative approach to make
For
everything
sure, for sure.
more efficient and effective. But in the same time, I also actually have the realization is that is basically life is also actually not necessarily finishing all the tasks or actually check certain boxes, right?
Yeah,
It's
that seems
more
a bit.
about basically
Yeah,
the
yeah.
accumulation of your experiences. So oftentimes you don't have to be that effective. Oftentimes you don't have to be that 100% efficient, right? You should actually allow yourself to wander. You should allow yourself to actually to explore. That's part of the reason I wanted to actually give myself more opportunity to explore. You know, the
Yeah,
reason, so now I'm thinking about it, I
go
studied
ahead.
finance between my college and graduate school for 5 years. The reason is I graduated from my college 1 year earlier.
Oh,
I wanted to actually to really actually get the most out of the my school years. So that's why I finished all the courses and I applied for graduation within 3 years, and then I continued
oh,
basically my graduate school right after. The reason was simply because I wanted to actually to be a little bit more effective, efficient in that.
oh,
But
I see.
the thing is, again, I don't necessarily regret that, but I could actually also just don't necessarily think about that as you finish everything in 5 years rather than 6 years. But you
Mm.
should think about you know it doesn't really matter, right? That's not how you win. What really matters is what experience you've accumulated, what exposure you've gained,
Um,
and then whether that time you really actually you don't regret how you spent those 5 or 6 years. That's what's the most important.
wow.
So
Yeah.
I think that's basically the probably also the reason realization I have. So it's a balance. It's a long answer to your
Mm.
question, but to me it's a
No,
balance.
yes, it's totally okay.
Yeah, it's basically a balance of logical thinking and quantitative approach versus you know take a don't actually take things too seriously, and then don't think about basically life being a mission you have to
Yeah.
actually accomplish
Right,
this,
right.
but to enjoy it a little bit, right? To basically give yourself a little bit more space to
Kind of like a journey.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've heard that a lot, but that really makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I guess taking life as kind of just being super exploratory, but I guess what you're saying is like on a more day-to-day basis or for like individual problems. I think a
Hmm.
logical approach is probably better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think that's all the questions I have for you, honestly,
Great.
because that was just a
Those
super,
are
super
great
interesting
questions.
talk. Like, I think I really like your approach on like how to approach life in general. But I also really liked how, you said how do you use quantitative approaches,
Hmm.
database like analysis,
Hmm.
and also just your career transition just feels super out of the blue. But I mean, I'm just looking at where you are now. It's amazing how far you've gone.
Yeah, it's I also actually I couldn't actually think of basically I would actually ended up with at 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But
Yeah, yeah.
it was more like truly to basically the last topic we were talking about. It was a journey, and then
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
exploration, and then yeah, I'm still actually enjoying what I do, so that's what matters.
Right, right. I feel like that's what you should really strive for in life, I
Yeah,
feel
for
like.
sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think just one last quick thing I want to go over.
Hmm.
I think this podcast is kind of for high schoolers, maybe asking, hey, what do I do if I'm good at math, or
Yeah.
what should I do in college, or career? But I think it's also for myself
Yeah.
because as I'm nearing college applications, I'm really
Yeah.
wondering like, hey, even if I do math, what can I do
Yep.
with it?
Yep.
So I mean, what advice would you give to a high schooler that loves math but doesn't know where it might take them?
Yeah, totally. I think the way I think about it is you mentioned coding, right? So I think it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
much like coding. So I think math and a quantitative approach is almost like the algorithm, right, that basically you use to solve problems. But think about it, the way you can get the best outcome doesn't necessarily just depend on the algorithm. It also actually depends on the input, right? It has to be basically great input plus great algorithm that'll actually give you the great outcome, right? So what I would recommend for my students and also actually, for your generation is
100%. Yeah.
the math is definitely quantitative approach is definitely a great way to actually to approach decision making and then to process information. But in the same time, really try to actually broaden your horizon to get more information, to get more intelligence, to get more experience and exposure as the input, so that you can make more informed decision with the proper logical process. So that's step one and step two. Basically, you have to actually value both equally. So that's basically at a high level, I would say the one thing I want to share.
Yes. So, like getting a good balance of like
Yes.
doing as many things as possible, exploring.
Right.
So, I guess in that sense, would you say college is kind of like, I guess, a time to really find yourself? Would you say it's
I
like
would
that?
totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And then honestly, not even college. I feel like you probably will hear this more and more. Basically, if you talk to people who are in their 40s or 50s, they would always say that in your 20s, don't worry too much about basically the specifics or the where you would end up, what career you're actually pursuing, because that's the time you should really actually explore and leverage basically to actually get the experience to make better decisions, right? So that's why I feel like college definitely is a time for you to actually to explore those, but not only college, even the early years in your career is the same. So fully take advantage of those years. Don't worry too much.
I guess it's just don't stress, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't think too hard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing advice. I'll definitely take that to heart. Thank you so much. I mean,
Of course.
yeah, I've really enjoyed this talk, and I think definitely our viewers will 100% appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope this is helpful.
Yeah, it's been really, really illuminating.
Awesome.
I think we'll end it off there if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much again for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Kaden. I really enjoyed the talk, and then good luck with everything.